I read a lot of LinkedIn profiles and headlines every week. Most people are good at their job and they have relevant experience. But most of them are also invisible to recruiters because their headline isn't telling a clear story about who they are and what value they bring to a hiring manager. So today we're looking at 3 examples: how to fix your positioning, find the right thread, and communicate your value clearly through your headline. Section 1. Why the headline matters. LinkedIn is the biggest professional network in the world, and that's where recruiters basically live. Most of them aren't scrolling through your posts, they're searching for you. Here's something a lot of people don't know. Recruiters aren't using the same subscription model as you and I on LinkedIn. Most of them are using a separate subscription model, which is called LinkedIn Recruiter or LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, with which they can search for candidates in a much more comprehensive way. It's built for hiring with way more filters. They type in a target role and then stack certain filters on top of it, such as location, industry, years of experience, and so on. LinkedIn then ranks every profile against those search filters. So for recruiters, LinkedIn is a database, and your headline is one of the strongest signals and ranking factors in that database. Now, hold on a second, because that means that your headline is doing 2 jobs at once. On one hand, it needs to be optimized for the algorithm and AI to match the search criteria. But it also needs to be optimized for the humans that are still going through the search result list and decide on which profile to click and whom to invite to an interview or not. So if you focus too much on the keywords, you might lose the human because it ranks, but it doesn't land with the human. Or you can get the story right and skip the keywords, so then it lands with a human, but they never actually see it because you don't rank in the keyword results. So what you need to do is a combination of both. Now, in terms of the search results, you need to know that recruiters, just like you and I, they wouldn't go through page 3, 4, 5, 6 in the search results to find the perfect candidate. Most of them, they might not even scroll past the first page. Think about your own behavior on Google search. You rarely ever go past the second or the third result page. So the goal here isn't to just appear somewhere in the search results, but you want to rank high. You want to appear ideally on the first page. And along with your name, what gets you seen in the search results is your headline, both on mobile and on desktop. So your headline is the entry door. If your headline isn't saying what the recruiters are actually looking for, they will not open that door. So let's look at 3 real patterns in headlines that I see over and over again and how to fix them with one formula. Now, here's the structure that I use to rewrite headlines. First of all, you need to put your target role as the first keyword. Not necessarily your current title, but the title that you actually want to be found for. So if a recruiter is searching project manager and your headline says contract manager, you're not going to appear in the search results. You're not going to rank very high. You're basically invisible to the search. Now, the second part of the formula is your positioning. This is the one line that is written for the humans and not necessarily only for the algorithm and keyword optimization. Because the algorithm already found you with part 1 of the formula, your target role keyword. Now you're in a list with dozens of other people, so the next thing that has to happen is something that makes the human that is actually looking at those search results stop. Something that makes them look, something that makes you stand out so that they actually click on your profile. What this line needs to do is tell your story and your impact in one line. Not passionate or enthusiast or hardworking. It needs to be something specific and something unique to you. Now, the last part of the formula are the supporting keywords. Here you put the terms that recruiters actually search for. So you can pull them from job postings of your target role. You can even put them in Claude, AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever you're using. Put them in there. Tell it to filter out 5 to 10 of the most relevant and most reoccurring keywords that I use throughout job postings for your target role. That could be something like agile, scrum, risk management, process improvement. It could be your certification, CAPM, PMP, whatsoever. Whatever shows up again and again in these job postings that you're targeting. Now, LinkedIn gives you 220 characters for your headline. Now, you don't need to fill all of these 220 characters, and you definitely should not try to cram in as many keywords as possible. Because remember, it's still a human reading it. So if it's just a huge block of text with keyword, keyword, keyword after keyword, they're just not going to actually read it and they're not going to care. So I would recommend put a maximum of 3 to 6 supporting keywords after your unique positioning line in your headline. That is enough to support your search and the algorithm without making your headline sound like a very clunky novel. Quality over quantity. So pick the ones that matter most for the role that you want. So again, the formula is target role, your unique positioning line, and supporting keywords. That's the formula. Now let's apply it. For example number 1, we're going with a senior business analyst. This is a headline from a senior business analyst with more than 10 years of experience. And I see this version of a headline over and over again on LinkedIn. Now what it says is senior business analyst, requirements gathering, SQL, Excel, Power. Now, if you talk to this person, you understand that that's someone who's been sitting between departments for 10 plus years. They've been translating between what the business needs and what the developers can actually build. They've been managing back and forth when priorities crash and conflicts arise. Now, the problem is that his headline doesn't actually tell that story. It reduces a decade of experience to a tool list. Everyone can learn tools. You don't need 10 plus years of experience to be a specialist in Power BI. That is not your unique selling point. That is not the value you actually bring. Now, I understand that a lot of people get stuck at this part because his current title per contract is Senior Business Analyst, not Project Manager. So now if he wants to transition into project management, putting Project Manager into his headline seems like he's lying. Certainly, it seems like a stretch. But here's how I would reframe that. You're not claiming a title that you don't actually have on paper. You're optimizing for the role that you're applying for and the way that recruiters actually search for those candidates. Now, we know that recruiters search by target roles. And your headline is a way to tell them where you're going and not only where you have been in the past. That's not dishonesty, that's positioning. Now, your CV and your About section are where you further explain in detail about that journey. You give context to it. Now, for part 2 of the formula, we're going to look at his unique story. He says that he has spent 2 years on a project where finance, legal, and operations all had 3 different definitions of done, even though it was regarding the same product launch. And he was actually the one who got all 3 of those departments to align on a single definition of done, before a single line of code was ever written. That's not just stakeholder management. That's aligned 3 departments on one definition of done before a single line of code was written. It's specific, memorable, and no one else's headline necessarily says exactly that. For part 3 of the formula, so 3 to 6 supporting keywords, we are going to look at real job postings. Here, for example, we could put agile, risk management, and cross-functional leadership. Now, using the full formula, the headline becomes project manager, aligned 3 departments on one definition of done before a single line of code was written, agile, risk management, cross-functional leadership. It's the same person, the same 10 years, but now he's actually ranking in the search results for project managers, which is where he wants to be, and the recruiter immediately knows what he's about. He's about aligning people. That is someone that can actually make someone stop scrolling in amidst all of the other search results. Let's look at example number 2, a technical engineer who also wants to transition into project management. His headline is saying something like, software engineer, back-end development, Java, Python. Now, this person has been the one coordinating between product, design, between other engineers to actually finally ship those features. He's been planning the work, flagging the risks. He's keeping a release on track when half the team is blocked. So, there's a lot going on. But it has the same issue as example 1. The headline only shows the technical skills and not the coordination and delivery and more strategic work that is actually also involved in this. Part 1 of the formula, it stays the same, project manager as the target. For part 2, again, we're looking at his unique story. Now, he told me that on one of the projects that he was working on, the whole team got stuck because they couldn't properly communicate with a manufacturing partner from China. Well, he is actually bilingual. He speaks Mandarin. So he stepped in, he translated the technical requirements directly, and the project got back on track immediately. That's not, I'm fluent in Mandarin. That is, unblocked a stalled project by bridging the language gap with our China-based manufacturing partner. That's specific, it's memorable. It makes someone actually stop and be interested in, who's this person and what else does their profile say? Now for the third part, again, we can choose 3 to 6 supporting keywords taken from real job postings, for example, cross-functional leadership, agile, scrum, certifications like PMP, or any other criteria and keywords that come up again and again in the job posts. Now he's not lying about being an engineer, but he is surfacing the part of his job that actually is the foundation of project management work. He's putting the role that he wants first. He's giving the recruiter a reason to remember him over all of the other profiles that they have been looking at. Now, one more thing on this. Your unique story doesn't need to be a language skill or a dramatic rescue in that sense. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was something like you caught a bug before product launch that would have absolutely derailed the whole launch before anyone else noticed it. Or maybe you're the person who suggested to take a personality test within their team to figure out how you can actually work better all together. The detail itself doesn't matter as much as it matters that it's specific to you, it's unique, and it's memorable. And it needs to obviously be something that you can actually back up with a story when someone asks you about it. It can also be a great icebreaker for anyone sliding into your DMs on LinkedIn, whether that's a recruiter or another connection request, to actually start a conversation about your unique line and ask you more in detail about, hey, so I've read this about you. Can you tell me more about it? Sounds crazy. So this unique positioning line can actually open many more doors for you. Now let's move on to example number 3. She's a project manager, but she's a little bit confused as to how to actually clearly communicate her value to land a new role in project management. So this one is different because the person already has the title. Her problem is that her experience is very scattered and it's not really finding the red thread yet. She's worked in tech, she's worked in FMCG, she's worked in fintech and in banking. Her current headline says something like, Project Management Enthusiast, Tech, FMCG, and Banking Experience, Agile and Scrum. Now there are 2 problems here. First, enthusiast. That word does the opposite of what you probably wanted to do. It signals early career, someone who's keen, but not necessarily experienced or quite there yet. So if that's not her, that word needs to go. Now the second problem is the same as before. Her instinct is to explain every single industry that she's ever worked in, because she's worked hard to actually build that range, and it seems impressive, and it is. But trying to explain 3 or 4 different industries within your headline and the character restrictions is doing too much work. It's trying to do too much at once. Now here's what I suggested to her that we do instead. We stopped trying to explain the industries and actually found the red thread running through all of those experiences independent of the industry. Because whether it was tech, FMCG, or banking, she was doing the same type of work and achieving the same impact in all kinds of roles. She was improving processes that didn't exist yet or were broken in the first place. Now that's not 3 different jobs, and it doesn't even matter so much in what industry it was. It's basically one specialty that she has proven over 3 times or more across different contexts. Now let's put the headline together. Part number 1, the target role, project manager. She already has the title, it's a no-brainer. Now for part 2, the unique line, we can say something like, led process improvements for departments that didn't talk to each other until I got there. Now for part 3, again, 3 to 6 supporting keywords. You note from the other 2 examples, we can put anything that comes up repeatedly in those job postings. Now working in these different industries is the proof of range. It's not the impact or the outcome or her unique strength. Now her headline leads with her unique value proposition, with what she actually does, which happens to be the thing that transfers no matter the industry. Now, we've talked through the 3 examples. It was a different entry or starting point each time, but we can apply the same type of formula to actually get the result that we want. Summing it up, you put the target role first so you actually show up in the search results from the algorithm and the AI filters. Then you optimize the next line for your unique positioning and your story, including an impact that you actually had for the human recruiter or the hiring manager that is looking through those search results. The goal here is to make them stop scroll, click on your profile and remember you and actually think, hey, this person, it seemed like a good match. We should DM her. We should maybe invite her or him to an interview. And then again, the keywords that support it all. So you will again rank higher and will be found in the right places without having only a clunky list of keywords that the human doesn't want to read through. Your headline is 10 seconds of someone's attention. That's not a lot, but it's enough if you actually use it right. If you want help figuring out your individual and personal positioning angle, you can sign up for a free discovery call. I put the link in the description down below so we can talk through what is actually blocking you at the moment, where your red thread throughout all of your experience actually sits, and how you can communicate that more clearly so that hiring managers and recruiters actually invite you to interviews. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful at all, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to my channel where I post weekly insights like this, and thanks for watching.